today's show is going to be what it says up there. Up there. The Dallas Cowboys training camp preview, 2015 season preview, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, this is a live stream. I'm still getting the hang of how to use XSplit and YouTube, so this is probably just going to be a pretty basic show, just me talking. But yeah, 2015 Dallas Cowboys. Set up basically by the 2014 Dallas Cowboys. 2014 Dallas Cowboys, no expectations. Sean Lee out for the year. And OTAs. Myself, I didn't think this team in 2014 was going to be anything. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere last year, it came together. The offense changed the philosophy of run first. Romo passed less and ended up having, I think, one of his best seasons. The defense, not the best defense, but did what it needed to do to get the job done. Some can say smoke and mirrors. They weren't the most talented defense, but they moved. They're probably one of the fastest defenses. They weren't the most talented, but they got the most every ounce of what they could out of what they had. The Cowboys have had way better defenses and have been worse teams. But last year's defense, credit to Marinelli, did very well. And so yeah, last year, I believe they were 11-5 last year. Went to the playoffs, beat the Lions in the wild card game, and then went to Green Bay. And everyone knows about the catch. It was a catch. I know technically there's some rule about maintaining whatever. All you gotta do is watch it. It's a catch. It's that simple. I don't care about any rule. There's been multiple catches in the NFL that have happened like that and have been called catches. Fine. But still hurts. But you move on. But the bright side is, after all that, once the dust cleared and all that, after the dust cleared, we are left with a Cowboys team that I believe will win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not normally that kind of fan, that cocky. I've growing up, I've liked the Cowboys, the Reds, Ohio State, and I've never really had a basketball team until recently, the Bulls. Other than Ohio State, which, I mean, the whole time I've been alive, the worst record they've ever had, I think, is like 7-5. The year with Fickle, they might have had a little bit of a worse record, but for the most part, the Buckeyes are competitive. But they never really made the national championship other than 2 or 3 years because of the old bowl system. But as far as pro sports goes, my teams have not had that much success. I've liked the Cowboys since the first season I can remember is 95. They obviously won the Super Bowl in 95 against the Steelers. I vaguely remember my dad's Super Bowl party, but I don't really remember. The first season that I vividly remember Cowboy football was in 2006. So they would have been, not 2006, 96. So they would have been defending champions that year. From 96 all the way through the crappy late 90s to early 2000s, I've been a Cowboy fan. And then I like the Reds, who haven't been good since they were good in 2010. They've been decent. They're dreadful this year, but so I have not had a place to be cocky or arrogant as the Reds as a sports fan. Here recently, I called the Buckeyes to win the national championship the year before they did. Not this past year. I called it the year they lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten championship game. I called that. I was off by a year. I called the Reds to win the Super. I was really confident about the Reds in 2012. That was the best year. They lost to the Giants. And then 2013, I was like, or wait, no. 2013. They made the playoffs in 2012. They lost. They choked an 0-2 lead against the Giants. Lost 3 in a row to lose to the Giants in the playoffs. That next year, 2013, I called. I'm like, they're going to win the World Series. This is the best set up team. As far as health, as long as they're healthy, they got chewed in the off season. I was like ready to go. They had a great season, had a really good record, but still got in as a wild card because of the division, and then they lost to the Pirates in the wild card game. That team I was really confident about, and that Buckeye team I was really confident about. Obviously, I was wrong those 2 times. This team is the most confident I've ever been about the Cowboys. I just think the way this team is, the one question mark of this team going into training camp is the running game. They lost to Marco Murray, so that's the one question mark. But to me, they have the line. I will take the line over because I'm like, you can have the best running back in the world. You can have Adrian Peterson. But if you have a crappy line, he's not going anywhere. I mean, you'll have Barry Sanders, and yes, Adrian Peterson does make something out of nothing. Unless you have a Barry Sanders who can just, which isn't common, you can have a really good offensive line, which I think this team has the best offensive line as far as depth, as far as the starters. They have Joseph Randall, Lance Dunbar, and Darren McFadden, which people say injury prone. He's not going to start. Darren McFadden's not going to start. He's going to be second or third. He's going to be a switch up back probably. Randall's going to get the most of the load, and you probably wouldn't know about Randall or Dunbar unless you were a Cowboys fan, because I mean you're not going to watch Cowboys games. The odds are if you're not a Cowboys fan, you probably hate the Cowboys, so you're not going to watch the Cowboys. You have to watch all games the last couple years. All of the games, because they might have only gotten, especially last year, maybe 1 or 2 carries in the game. But those 1 or 2 carries, they would get like 15 yards a carry. Like they can run. You can say, okay, once they get more carries, it'll go down. You can tell by watching Dunbar and watching Randall, they're not great running backs, but they're in that category. Like there's great running backs, there's solid middle tier running backs that give them a hole, they will run through it. That's where Dunbar and Randall are at. They're in that little. They're both just solid running backs. Where if you open up a hole, they'll make it. I mean, they're not going to miss a hole, and I have confidence in them. Now, everyone else that's not a Cowboys fan and actually don't know it because they haven't seen it. I've seen it. Watching games, I've seen it. I've seen these 2 running backs do very well. That's the one question mark of this team, and I think people still kind of think this team will be good. A lot of people, I think they're favored to win the NFC East. I've heard a lot of people expect them to make the playoffs. So nationally, I don't think it's really hurting the expectations, but the running game is the one thing it's like, let's wait and see. That and the defense. But I think the defense will be better. They'll have Rolando McClain, Sean Lee, Morris Claiborne. I think he's talked about having a rebound year. I mean, I think the guys they have, I think basically they have the good group of guys, the few group of guys on defense they have are back with added people that weren't there last year. And then I think they have a couple people back that kind of had a down year last year that I think have a chip on their shoulder. Carr and Claiborne are 2 guys that, yes, they've had a mediocre couple of years, but the possibility is there. I mean, Carr did well in Kansas City. He's done well. Claiborne's young, so you really don't know. But you're hoping maybe they got a chip on their shoulder and something clicks. But I still think the defense will be improved. And like I said, Romo had probably, I don't know if it was his best year statistically, but as far as watching him, he did less. So he did more. Witten. You got the weapons on offense coming back. I don't think there's a team that has a better case to win Super Bowl than the Cowboys. Now people either don't like the Cowboys or they still are stuck on that choke Romo, like that whole, this era Cowboys. So you have that whole like kind of fall with them. But I think, so it's kind of hard to get past. I think if you take this roster, these players, this team, and put them on any other team, maybe like the Bills or like the Jaguars or a team that doesn't have this star and this name, Dallas Cowboys, I think a lot of people would be like, okay, they're good. The only thing keeping them, I think, is the only question mark. I think is the running game, the defense. Oh, some of the defense. Not the bigger. I think is the running. Whoever's going to run the ball, the defense, and then just the fact of the Cowboys. So there's still people out there that still think this team's going to choke. I was down on this team. Um, I've I I've always lived here. I live here in Miamisburg. I'm from Ohio. I'm a Reds fan, so I'm Cincinnati area. But so I've also followed the Bengals. I went to Bengals games when I was a kid, so I do have a connection with the Bengals. The last couple, some of last year and the year before last year, going into last year, I was starting to get more into the Bengals because they seemed more talented, more younger, more exciting to watch. I was down on the Cowboys heading into this upcoming season. But this season, whatever it was, I thought Jason Garrett was a lame duck coach. For whatever reason, he's all of a sudden he went from like this guy who can't manage the clock to last year was the first year you're actually looking at him as like a credible coach, like a Bill Belichick type guy. And like yeah, last year I just think this team has the best case to win the Super Bowl. And like I said, they're not getting any younger. Romo and Witten, they need to get rings, and they're not getting any younger. So I think this or maybe next year is probably the best chances for them to win the Super Bowl. What we're going to do here, I'm going to take a quick break. Make something to drink. I'll be right back. Yeah, but when I get back, we're going to go over the Cowboys 2015 schedule. I'll go through the schedule. I'm not really predict the record. I'm not really into that, but I'll just schedule. I think a schedule that I think is very favorable, and another reason why they have a good case to win Super Bowl is because I think the schedule's manageable. It's not really easy, but it's I think a doable schedule. So I'm gonna show that up here while I go get a drink. Be right back. Yeah, no music right now. I haven't figured out how to work it. That, and I'm pretty sure you can because it's on YouTube. But yeah, here's the schedule. I'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Okay. Yeah, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go through the schedule, talk about the schedule, what they play, who I think. Well, I might do a record prediction, but I'm gonna go through the schedule, and then there's a couple of things that happened today and yesterday. News stuff I want to talk about for the Cowboys. Yeah, and then I'll see what else is on there. Here's pull up the schedule. Here's the schedule. They play preseason. They play at San Diego, at San Francisco, and then they go home and play the Vikings and Texans. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, they have Sean Lee, and I heard Rolando McClain and Darren McFadden are on the pup list. So they do have some injuries, some nagging small injuries heading into preseason. So I don't mind them resting, even if it means losing. Obviously, those games don't matter. So, but yeah, and then it'll all lead to opening day, September 13th, at home, Jerry's World against the Giants on NBC. I think I'll be having my birthday party that day. That's not my birthday, but it's the weekend I want to do it on. But yeah, I think that game, like I said, I've said a bunch of times on YouTube. Everyone's talking about the Eagles being the biggest threat, almost maybe the favorite. I don't know why I don't get why the Eagles are considered. I mean, maybe considered wild card, but I don't think they're even close. I mean, they may still beat the Cowboys. They may split the season series because it's Cowboys Eagles, but I don't get why. I mean, people want to freak out because the Cowboys don't have DeMarco Murray, and even though we're pretty solid everywhere else, because we don't have DeMarco Murray, everyone's like, oh, they're not gonna get it. They had DeMarco Murray, but to my knowledge, they had pretty much the same offensive line they had last year, and that wasn't talked about as like the godsend of offensive line. And even if they did have offensive line, they have no weapons on offense. The wide receiver is widely known as a weakness on the Eagles. And I'm sorry, Bradford, Sanchez, Tebow. I'm not scared about any three of those. Bradford might not make it to the year, and even if he does, he hasn't played in 2 seasons. So even if he somehow makes it to the season without getting injured, there's going to be rust from just not playing for 2 seasons. So I don't really get. And then you have Sanchez, who proved last year he can't do it, and then Tebow, which he can't throw. I'm not scared about Tebow. I'm sorry. Like I said before, the Giants had a really bad year last year. I think they had injuries, and they just had every player that could have had a bad year did. I think Cruz was hurt off and on. The only bright spot of the Giants last year was Beckham, and he's back this year, and he's awesome. He had a really good catch against the Cowboys they go probably the one everyone talks about. Eli Manning, say what you want about Eli. I don't like him. Sheila, E. coli. I think he's kind of sort of overrated, but he's won 2 Super Bowls. And I will still take him over Bradford, Sanchez, or Tebow. Because I'm sure Eagle fans are like, oh, it's Eli. If you put Eli on the Eagles, they're improved from now. So, and like I said, I'm not sure what the Giants. I don't know. I don't think they got anyone. I mean, the one guy hurt his either shot his finger off or hurt his finger. The guy on defense, Pierre Paul, I think his name is. I don't think they got anyone on defense. So their defense, I think, for the most part, is the same. But I think their defense wasn't the bad spot last year. I think their defense was formidable. I think it was just Eli making stupid, just everyone just either injured or not playing right, or just everyone having a bad season, which happens in sports. But like I said, and then the Redskins. But yeah, if you're talking about the team I'm most scared of defending the NFC East Championship this year, it's probably the Giants. Well, not probably. It is the Giants because the Eagles and Redskins just no. Not, it's not even close. It's not, and I don't. The only people that think the Eagles, I think, are contenders. There's that one guy that on NFL.com or whatever said they were the favorites, but I think for the majority of the people that think they're contenders, I think they're contenders for this division are Eagle fans. Which, I mean, okay, I get it. I'm a Cowboys fan, but we won the division last year. There's merit behind what I'm saying. What you're saying has Tebow, Bradford, and I'm not going to get past that. Tebow, Bradford, and Sanchez. Even if you guys had an awesome team, even if you guys had DeMarco Murray, Des Bryant, you still have Bradford, Sanchez, and Tebow. That's not. This is a quarterback league. I don't know why they got rid of Foles. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah. Get back to the schedule. Okay, they go week 2. The game. It's on Fox. It's a late game on Fox. I'm surprised it's not like Sunday night or Monday night. But yeah, it'll be a primetime game on Fox, 4:30. The Cowboys go to Philly to face DeMarco Murray in the Eagles. Well, I just got them talking about the Eagles, but I want to talk about one man, and that is DeMarco Murray. He is the fool. I've said it before on Twitter. He is the fool of the 2015 NFL offseason. He has said the reason he went to Philly was to win. Oh, Murray. No, the reason he went to Philly was to get paid, which is fine. Let's say that. Okay? I am insulted as a fan that you think the Eagles are a better chance to win than the Cowboys. That is ridiculous. You did not. The Eagles offered you more money, so you went there. That's why you went to Philly, not to win. And like I said, I don't care. I don't blame them for going for the money. Anyone would. But to say that, oh, I went to the Eagles because they're built to win now and they have a better chance to win now, that's bullcrap. You went to the Eagles because to get paid more, which is fine. Like I said, but at least say it. Week 3, they are back home. Face the Falcons, early game on Fox, so it probably won't even be on TV where I'm at. But that game, be too bad. I mean, the Falcons are still talented. They had a bad year last year, but I think it was kind of like the Giants. They're not great, but I think they're better than their record was last year. I didn't pay that much attention to them. I don't think Matt Ryan got injured, but it was just one of those years where it just nothing happened right. But that's another winnable game, so right? You could be 3-0 right now. Very well be. And then they go to New Orleans to face the Saints. The Saints, who I believe traded the tight end. I'm not sure about his name. I forget his name, but he's like one of the top tight ends of the league. So yeah, that's one less weapon. So yeah, I mean they should. I mean it's never easy in New Orleans, but yeah. And then they go week 5 back home against the Patriots, which it's our 5th game, but I believe it is the Patriots' 4th game, which means that Brady will be gone. I mean, unless he does, as of now, he'll be gone. It might change between now and then, but that should be gone. That'll be a hard game, because even without Brady, they have a good defense, and I haven't seen the backup quarterback, so I guess you assume he stinks, but, I mean, he's behind Tom Brady, so, I mean, everyone, except for maybe 10 quarterbacks in this league, would be behind Tom Brady. The Patriots do a bye week, and then we go to New York to face the Giants. We go home against Seattle, which it's at home, not in Seattle. It's a big deal. Seattle is not a good, or they weren't a good road team last year. Um, Seattle was not a good road team. I don't know if it may not apply this year, but last year they were almost. I mean, they were. I don't know. I don't know what the record was. At least there was a portion of the year last year where they couldn't win at home, or they couldn't win on the road. Um, so that could be an easier game. And then we're home against the Eagles. And then we go to Tampa, to Miami, home against the Panthers. Those 3 games are all winnable. I have not gone to one game where you're like, oh my god. They should be at least. I mean, none of these would be an upset if they win these games. Home against the Panthers, at Washington, and then boom. Week 14 at Green Bay. At Green Bay. That is a huge game, and I'm glad it's at Green Bay. I was glad we were going to play Packers when I saw the schedule. And then normally, which is weird because my whole life, the Cowboys, these recent memories normally aren't great on the road. They've never been a great road team. So to want to go to Green Bay and be legitimately excited when the schedule set at Packers is weird because normally most fans probably don't want their team to go to Green Bay because it's normally always hard to win there. But I think the fact that it's at the place where they lost, I mean, I think it would have been big if they played at Dallas because it's still a rematch of the game they got completely screwed out of. But I think of the fact that it's in Green Bay, it's the same spot, and it's even late in the year. What's the date? December 13th. So yeah, it could be snowing, it could be cold, blistery cold. I think it's huge, and I think we win that game. I'm not even scared about that game. I'm not. I mean, they could very well be the best. They could go and be in the NFC's best team and come in rolling. I am not scared about that game because of the meaning of that game. And Murray's not there. There's some players on that team that aren't there anymore, but the core that I care about: Dez, Romo, Witten, Williams, probably some guys on defense. Those guys are still there. They won't let the Cowboys lose. I think the Cowboys will win that game. And it's probably the hardest, and ironically, it's probably the hardest game on the schedule. And I'm probably most confident about this game. And then after that, week 15, they go to the Jets, which what I'm scared about is week 13 at Washington. It's at Washington, though. It's kind of hard. If it was home against the Redskins, I would be a little worried. But that game at Washington, week 13, and against the Jets, week 15, you're worried about maybe either the game before looking past the Redskins, because they will not be good, though, at that time of the year. Or maybe I think we will win the game, that we beat the Packers at Green Bay, and there's euphoria, and then we go home against the Jets and lose. That game against the Jets kind of worries me. On week 15. And then week 16 at Buffalo, always fun. I have fond memories at Buffalo. I was in that crazy Romo 4 or 5 pick game, like kicked the field goal. I think it was 7. I was in my dorm room at college watching the whole game. It was crazy. But yeah, Bills are good this year. Bills have a good defense. And they should be improved, even though I don't think they have a quarterback set, but that'll be a hard game. That scares me more than the Packers. And then they close the game, week 17, at home against the Redskins. Should be easy. Should very well be easy. So that's the schedule. Like I said, Packers game, Bills game. The Eagles are always hard. The Giants. The 2 Giants games, 2 Eagles games. Packers game, and Bills game, and the Jets just because it's after the Packers game. Other than that, the fact that the Jets are on the list of games that worry me the most should tell you about my should tell you about the difficulty of the schedule. I think it's really good. Okay, let me get to some news. It's popped up on my phone today. Oh, come on. Well, right now, live, they're having the Jason Garrett press conference. Nice. Okay, here's the news via my Cowboys app. Rolanda McClain McFadden placed on PUP list. Keith Rivers retires. I think he's a linebacker. I don't think he's a starter, though. Veteran linebacker Keith Rivers to the reserved retired list. I think he's a backup, even like a third string linebacker. Yeah, he signed a minimum free agency deal. Left by Bruce Carter. Yep. But yeah, the big news is Rolanda McClain McFadden placed on the PUP list. This early, it's not a big deal. They said McFadden was nursing a tweaked hamstring. That could be anything. I mean, to me, that could be like he was a little barely stiff, They're not going to have him. They want him for the season. So I was expecting him not to be full participation every day in practice anyway, because they're going to save him for the season. He might barely play any of the preseason. All they need him for is just quick. He'll be a second or third string back. Rolanda McClain, I guess, had off-season knee surgery. That's why he's on the PUP list. But I think he's still scheduled to be good. They released it's not popping up. The other day they released Williams. Well, I think Williams was like, he was a running back. But he was like 4th or 5th on the depth chart. He was, I think, 34. He's a shorter guy. They released him the other day. But yeah, other than that, not really newsworthy. Just deep depth chart guys changing. But yeah, I mean, so like you know the schedule. To me, 11-5 should be minimum expectations for the schedule. I think last year's schedule was harder. This year it's easier, which is weird because normally if you do good one year, you kind of get a harder schedule the next. But I think the schedule is very good. It might be hard based on last year's teams, but I was looking at each team how they are now, and yeah, it's. But yeah, if you like this video, if you're liking this, I guess it's the podcast show, you can follow me. Other way. You can follow me right there. On Twitter, ManKick88, or I have a ManKick Sports Network Facebook page at facebook.com/ManKickSportsNetwork. Like I said, I cover the Cowboys. Talk about the Cowboys. I would have talked about the Reds, but they're kind of depressing. But I'm a Reds fan. But this fall, definitely, I'll be doing Blue Jackets talk. Blue Jackets, Ohio State Buckeyes talk. I might do an Ohio State video later today, actually, on the news of the suspensions for Bosa. I think 3 other players for the first game. I'll be doing Cowboys, Ohio State football, Bulls basketball, Chicago Bulls, as they start their season. So, Bulls, Blue Jackets, Buckeyes, Cowboys, a lot of stuff happening in the fall. But yeah, my preview of this team is, like I said, barring any injury. If they lose Lee again, some freak injury, Lee's already made it. Lee's already made it further than he did last year. I think last year he got hurt in OTAs, so he's already made it past last year. But like I said, well, you can say with anything, barring health, the way this team is, if you take out your anti-Cowboys biased and look at this roster and this team, there may be some teams with as good as a case to win Super Bowl, but there's no one with a better case. Super Bowl 50, California. I'm calling it. I'm not afraid to call it because that's how much I think. Because if I call it like this and they do win it, I'm a genius. And I think they will. Super Bowl 50, Levi Stadium, Cowboys against whoever wins AFC. So yeah, like I said, the team looking good. I like this team very much. And I think that's it. It's my little preview. It's not fancy, I know. No songs. I'll have to see if there's songs that are just generic songs that are approved by YouTube. That way I can just put a generic song on there. Because I will have no way to get a real song on here. But yeah, my preview is great. But yeah, if you like the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and I will have more content here soon. I guess that's it. Go Cowboys. See you next time.